Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Philly Boots Rugby Roundtable. My name's Sean Phelan, and this is the second time we've actually recorded this one with the great folks at King's College Hospital RFC in London. How are you, gentlemen? Nice to see you again.
Yeah, hello
nice
again.
to see you.
Yeah, second time, thank you.
Yeah, we had some technical issues last time. My computer failed, lost everything, but we're back. And we're gonna do it again.
Bigger and better.
Bigger, better, longer, more in depth. We've got some actual rugby stuff we can talk about as well. So, first things first, we'll go around the round table. Introduce yourselves. We'll start with Hugh. Tell us your roles within the club and so on.
Okay, thank you, Sean. So first of all, thank you for the second time for being on, and these technical things happen, so no worries. So I'm Hugh Draper. I have a bit of a double hat, two hats on at the club. So I look after recruitment and retention of kind of our current members, but also look to how we can bring new people involved in the game we all love and enjoy and across the board. And then I also look after kind of the sponsorship and partnership area in terms of looking to bring new sponsors, new revenue in that aspect, and supporting our club to kind of bring different revenue streams in, but also supporting our local businesses, trying to find that mutual beneficial relationship. So yeah, a bit of a dual hat there on multiple different things. So.
Lovely, thanks for coming on. Dave at Groundhog, thanks for coming back, pal.
Thanks. So I'm Groundhog because everything keeps happening at least twice in my life, such as podcasts. My principal role in the club is to be the butt of the jokes, the ageist jokes for all the younger people who can. The club's 150 or 151 years old now. So the younger members say, "What was it like being at the founding meeting?" Or "How did you feel about the invention of the motor car?" and other such witticisms. So it's mainly that, but I also I hook for the kippers and occasionally for the twos. And then I look after the Kings Loves Kings campaign, which we'll come to a bit later.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks for that. Simon?
Good to see you again, Sean. My name's Simon. I'm the co-chairman of the KCH Pirates, which is the junior wing of the club. And like my good friend Groundhog, I run out for the Mighty Kippers, which is the veterans team, and also occasionally have a trundle around the pitch for the twos.
Lovely. Thanks for joining us. And finally, Dave?
Yeah, thanks. I'm Dave Wallace. I'm the chairman. Have been for the last 3 or 4 years. Previously was the treasurer, as is always the case in committees like this. We tend to do a bit of everything at any one point in time. And I try and still play. Obviously, it's been a while since I've played any kind of rugby. It's been a while since anyone's played any kind of rugby, but I still try and turn out if I can for the seconds, more likely than not these days. So yeah, that's me.
Lovely. Thanks for joining us. I'll come back to you, Dave. Give us a bit of background on Kings. I know you were part of the formation of the RFU, which has just been celebrated 150 years ago. Groundhog was there, clearly.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm doing it. He can tell us all about it.
He took the minutes.
He took the minutes. I've just read the history on Wikipedia again, so that's where I'm basing my reference. But yeah, like Groundhog says, we're 151 years old. We were formed back in 1869 when members of various faculties of King's College met and formed a rugby club. Like you say, the RFU has just celebrated its 150th anniversary. And members of our club were amongst the representatives of the 21 clubs who together formed the RFU at a meeting at the Palmar restaurant on the 26th of January 1871.
Well read.
Yes.
Do you remember what you had to eat, Groundhog? What did you have for lunch?
Yeah. What's your drink of choice? Any?
I think it was mead in those days.
Huh?
Over the years, we've had mixed success. I think our heyday was probably in the 20s and 30s, and we'll go back to groundhog again. But at the time, we had a number of internationals. We in fact had the Lions captain for the 24 and 27 Lions tours. In the 1990s or so, the medical departments of Guy's, King's, and St Thomas's hospitals merged, as did their rugby clubs, but our rugby club chose to remain as a separate entity. So since then, we've been a truly open club, and we call upon members from largely around where we're based in Dulwich in southeast London. So we run two adults teams. We tried to raise a ladies team a few years back, but unfortunately that wasn't necessarily amazingly successful. But we still welcome women down to train and play with us, if it's all possible. We're based in, like I say, Turney Road in southeast London, near Herne Hill. And as of, I think, 7 years ago, we'll come on to it in a bit, but Simon will tell us all about it. We formed a junior, minis and junior section as well.
Brilliant. Comprehensive history.
Thank you.
Done your research.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Wikipedia page is missing reference to the fact that obviously one of the recent highlights is recording the FYB Rugby podcast 3 weeks ago. But
yeah, 3 weeks ago. Yeah, technical issues. So Simon, tell us about the Pirates and actually the season for the club before we went into lockdown. A year ago now.
Yeah, sure, Sean. As Dave said, the Pirates is the junior wing of the club. Has been in existence now for about 7 years, and we welcome all children of all abilities, all backgrounds between the ages of 5 and 13 to join us. Every Sunday for rugby. Club junior wing's been going from strength to strength, and we have relocated to another area. We don't play with the senior scene at Turney Road. We play in Orient Park. We looked at it, and basically it's all about catchment areas and exposure to potential playing groups. And when we were based at Turney Road, we found ourselves very much in the same catchment area as another and considerably larger junior club who shall remain nameless. And in moving to Orient Park, it just opened us up to a different pool of available players. Lots of schools in the immediate area that we interface with and try and encourage. And also moving to Orient Park, there's a number of other junior sports teams there. So we kind of feed off of each other, share experiences, best practices, and so on and so forth. So it's worked out very, very well. I mean, there is a physical separation between the two clubs. We're about 1.5 miles away from Turney Road, but it is purely a physical separation. We do obviously treasure our links with the senior club, and we continue those relationships by simply inviting current first team players down to come play with the children. Train with the children. Sorry, play with the children sounds a little bit dodgy. Train with the children, because of course it gives them something to aim at and stuff. Especially, we got a special guest today. It's the current first team captain. It's like, wow, and they're here to watch you train. We also get involved with sponsors days, and before certain key first team fixtures, we'll run training sessions or exhibition games beforehand, and then encourage obviously the kids and the parents to stay on and watch the first 15 play. So whilst there is that physical separation, we do remain very, very integrated with the club. Obviously, lockdown's been very difficult, and I'm sure Dave and Groundhog will go on, in relation to what's happened in relation to the senior section. But, at the end of the day, we want kids to be running around with a rugby ball in their hand and having fun and laughing and so on and so forth. Obviously the roadmap, and I'm sure we'll discuss that a little bit later, the roadmap back to rugby, commencing on the 29th of March, obviously gives everybody a lot more hope. But during lockdown, it's all about keeping interest levels. And obviously the Six Nations has come at a really good time, because we've been playing games with the kids, having little sweepstakes, guess the score, nearest score wins a prize. A couple of weeks back, we had a crazy physical madness section where basically you had a player picked for you, and every time your player made a tackle, you had to do 4 sit-ups and various other physical challenges. And I think encouraging the kids just to post them back onto WhatsApp and stuff. And just a big shout out, obviously, to all the coaches and obviously all the parents, because obviously, the parents are an integral part of the club as well. So it has been difficult, and I think the kids miss it. We certainly miss the kids. We're looking forward very much to getting back into training and getting off to tournaments. We try and go to at least 3 or 4 tournaments a season. Did really, really well. Particular standout moment was when we were down at Aberystwyth at the junior tournament down there, and our kids came up against Talupi Falatau's nephew. So as you can imagine, a 10-year-old that's like about 6'7" and can run the 100 meters in about 4 seconds. But the kids weren't daunted, and if anything, it spurred them onto new heights. So we've had some good times, and we're just positioning ourselves now, because my hope, and I'll go into it a little bit later on, my hope is obviously once we come out of lockdown, rugby is going to be seen as a way for people to get involved in activity and club activities as well. So we're kind of positioning ourselves, because we're kind of hoping there's going to be a bit of a, for want of a better term, backlash, because everybody's been locked at home for so long. So that's kind of where we are at the moment.
And Hugh, how did you manage to keep people engaged, whether it be the players or the volunteers that you've got, or the sponsors, across the 3 lockdowns? Lockdown 1 a year ago, lockdown 2 sort of the back end of the year, and then the one that we're in at the moment.
Good question. And this is probably, there isn't a simple answer to how we keep people engaged. It's just, first of all, when we first came into lockdown 1 over a year ago, it was a shock to everyone, and how as a club we can support our members, support people that maybe just needs people to talk to or some help. So having different doors open, so via our WhatsApp groups or people reaching out individually, and just people being there. And it's the same with our sponsors, to be fair. When we first went into lockdown and all of them shut down, we was just reaching out to them and seeing what are they doing a little bit differently that they support in their business. So if there may be like pre-booking for future dates when people could go and visit them in their pubs or wherever it is. But it's probably, you need to always find a balance with these things. A recent term that I've heard from work a lot is communication bombardment. Is just finding that a little bit of balance, because during this whole year, people all have different parts in their lives. People are homeschooling, people are working a lot, all these kind of things. It's just trying to find that balance and just provide support where possible. There isn't a simple answer to any of it, but providing support to our members, providing support to our sponsors, and then during these in and out periods when we've been able to play again, having those opportunities to say to guys, we've got some touch rugby training going on at the moment. If you're available, why don't you come down, a bit of a run around, a bit of fresh air, because we're also a London club. There's a good amount of people, including myself, who we live in flats, so you may not get green area so much. So just providing an opportunity for people to go and run around when possible during this last year. So yeah, it's a bit of I think the key thing is just finding a bit of a balance between the whole year, and just keeping people engaged where possible and just having a bit of fun, really.
Yeah, has it been more difficult this time round than it did 12 months ago?
To be honest, I don't really know, to be honest. I think on a personal view, when we first went to lockdown 1, it was probably a combination of being quite excited because you like working from home, you're not really traveling, all those kind of things. It's kind of a bit different, if that really makes sense, to now where it's like, I've been at home for a year, I've been working from home for a year, I see everyone virtually constantly, and I just miss the pub or missed it going outside. So I think during this winter period, it has been a bit more difficult, especially as a London club here. So most of these people we did, and Groundhog will talk about this maybe in a bit with Kings, is we did some carol singing at the hospital just before Christmas. And that's the last time I saw some of these people. And that was literally the day before London went into lockdown 3 or 4, whatever it was. And it's just, it's hard to put into words. I think the winter period's been just tough for everyone because it is dark, it is gloomy. But now, in the sun behind me, it's probably everyone's started to get a bit more excited. There is some kind of us coming out of this lockdown, and it's come sunshine. People can go outside, so it's becoming a bit more, become a bit more excited, become a bit more infused, really going forward.
I mean, that's the difference, really. This time round is that obviously no one really had. It was the uncertainty. No one quite knew exactly when we were going to come out, what we were going to be able to do. So at least now, and I dare say we'll come on to it shortly, but at least now, obviously, the RFU have published the plans as to when we can come out and we can start playing touch rugby from, say, March the 29th and ready for rugby and amended laws later in April, I think it is. At least now that there is an end in sight, and I think people are going to be mad keen to at least just start throwing a ball around and obviously potentially have a drink outside and what have you, and to catch up with people we haven't seen for some time. Like Hugh says, the problem is you can just bombard people with emails and text messages and WhatsApps and what have you. So in terms of the members and stuff, the best that we can really do is just from time to time we engage them as much as we can. But obviously there's the usual social media and WhatsApp and Strava. I understand. I've not been on it myself. Clearly, you can probably tell, but things like Strava accounts and that sort of stuff. The realization that within 3 weeks from now, we're going to have to start actually doing some running around and a bit more fitness again. I think all of a sudden people realise that lockdown 3 hasn't necessarily been particularly kind on our waistlines, has it?
Has there been any sort of indication from players that they might not return to the game?
In all honesty, we just won't know until the push comes to shove, and we actually, for instance, we're looking to get availability for games and what have you. I mean, we did poll our members to see where people were, because a number of people might have moved away from London. They're potentially working from home, and working practices obviously all changed. So it remains to be seen exactly where and how many people we would get out on day one and what have you. Obviously, some people are very keen to get out as soon as they possibly can. Others are probably a little bit more cautious because they might be shielding or whatever. So we will have a good turnout. I'm sure I will, but it's we'll only know for certain when we actually send out that email saying can you have your availability, and no doubt a few of us will be making some phone calls on a Friday afternoon, definitely trying to find. I
know a really good website you can use.
Yeah. Break glass in emergency when Groundhog can't pull his boots on you.
But it is though, isn't it? It's that email that's going to come through in a few weeks' time saying training's on, come down, or we've got a game against so and so. Are you available? It feels so close now, but it's so close. And if people that are listening to this or watching this, the roadmap was released last week. It's a 6-step program that all leads through the government regulations, ending on June the 21st with sort of all bets off.
Yeah. I think part of the problem is as well is that we've been through this process a few times, and it's been within touching distance, and for the right reasons, because obviously the pandemic has spread and it's become more problematic. Those rights have kind of been taken away, rightly so, and stuff. So I agree with Dave and Hugh, and I'm sure Groundhog will elaborate further. It's a delicate balance. I'm sure I'm pretty to understand that most of us on this call probably coiled springs, just waiting for the 29th, so we can be released and stuff. But there's probably a little bit of trepidation about going, God, are they going to pull the rug out from beneath our feet again or something? So it's a delicate balance, but exciting times nevertheless, because we get to go outside.
Well, there is that. But as a club, and you're all members of the committee, and has there been any point over the last 12 months that you've been worried about the survival of the club?
No, never been worried about it. I mean, obviously, we've been here for 150 years and we'll be here for the next 150 years, I'm sure. So, there's work to be done, and obviously we need to make sure that we continue to engage with our players where it's all possible. But I mean, one of the things that we're wary of, and this is something that Hugh does a lot of work with, is that we have a relatively high turnover of players anyway, because we tend to have people who are relatively new to London come to London for work and will be around for sort of 5 to 10 years or so, and then their path will go elsewhere. So we do rely on getting quite a large turnover of players and new recruits coming into the club. So with lockdown, one of the problems we've had is I'm sure people are moving away for whatever reason, COVID or otherwise, but we're struggling, because we just don't have the opportunity to sort of recruit and get new members down to the club. So that's something that we're keen to work hard on over the course of summer, and I'm pretty certain there'll be lots of people who aren't even members of the club just yet who are keen to at least throw a ball around, play a bit of touch rugby over the summer, and maybe we'll look to play rugby from next September when the leagues get going again.
Yeah, so that, and to follow on Dave as well, I think this period of time, this last year, especially last 3 to 6 months, you probably look at it a bit more positively to say, actually, it's given us a little bit of an opportunity to look at what we could, as a club, kind of do to evolve and develop and grow longer term, and allow people to have the opportunity, from Simon talking about the youth section to adults, for people to go and play rugby and get involved in the game and engage in the game we love within our communities, and looking at those areas that we want to do and partner with longer term in the 3 to 5 years. It's allowed us to think about that rather than sometimes, and I'm conscious of this, especially from a recruitment point of view, a lot of time is we're maybe a bit more reactive, just trying to do things in a day-to-day, weekly basis, just doing what we can to try and maybe bring numbers in or work with sponsors. But actually this is allowed, on a personal view, and me and various other people as well have been working on how we as a club talk to various partners, the university or local schools or wherever it is, to say, actually, when we come out of this COVID situation, how we can support you or support other people to get involved in the game we love, and get people kind of being a bit more active. Because I think Simon said it's like there is a little bit of a coiled spring approach, where at some point people have been locked up for a year at home. We've been able to do limited amount of exercise, but individually, and people are going to realise, actually, first of all, maybe I haven't played rugby for a year or a couple of years, or I finished uni a few years ago and I love playing it, but I haven't played for ages, getting back involved. Or people going, actually, I want to get involved in a new sport, a new activity, and how we as a club can be that kind of focal point for people and get something a bit different. So, yeah, it's probably more, I take a bit more of a positive view on it, and actually how we can grow and support other people in the community, and really probably develop as a club and be that kind of focal point for people to be involved in sport, get physical exercise, and kind of really kind of have a different view and how in the community post-COVID. And that links in with like all the stuff you see around Sport England, around United the Movement, and London Sport around the most active city. As a London club, we do know there's high turnover, as Dave said, and how we can probably we just manage that differently going forward.
Definitely. And you talked about the community aspect there. Groundhog, tell us about the Kings Love Kings initiative that you guys have been running.
Yeah, so it goes back, well, pretty much to the beginning of lockdown, and I was in Sainsbury's up in Dog Kennel Hill doing my normal kind of random trolley dash round, and they had a whole wall of Easter eggs, and it just kind of struck me that they might look better in the hospital than they did in Sainsbury's. So I filled a trolley up and just pitched up in A&E really. And so obviously the first thing they did was get security out, so get rid of this confectionery crank from my hospital. But no, I mean, they after they realised that it wasn't some kind of a scam, they were quite happy. So I went back a couple of weeks later, and then this time I just scrawled, love to Kings from Kings on the packs, and put a picture on the club WhatsApp group, and within 2 days I think I had 2,000 quid raised by the players. And so it went on from there, and Piggers, our designer, produced this nice rugby ball shaped logo, Kings Loves Kings, which, as you know, Sean, because you interviewed the Rosslyn Park Slingbacks ladies team have now got the hashtag Rugby for NHS going. So the whole idea of supporting the hospitals, I think, has really taken off. So then basically we've just been going into the wellbeing hub, which is run by Tracy, Becky Johnson, and Luke, and obviously the irony of taking extremely unhealthy things into a hospital eventually dawned on us, and so we instead of Coke and Easter eggs, we've discovered things like apples and fruit juice, which go down. Yes, I don't know. Somebody had to update me on this. They weren't around in my day. So and then the other thing, of course, is that the sort of side benefit here is that it's about deepening, as she was saying, our connection into the community and with the hospital, because as Dave pointed out, having become an open club, we want to reconnect with the hospital. So I was particularly hoping to recruit the security guards, who are proper units, and be our new front row. But no, we've got quite a few people who've indicated they're going to come down as soon as it's possible, which is great. So that'll work. And then, as Hugh said, we did a kind of carol service, which was a bit odd. I think you've got a dozen blokes wearing rugby shirts standing in the car park shouting at the hospital. But we had turned up with
an usual Saturday night, isn't
it? Yes. Cases and cases of mulled wine, all non-alcoholic, of course. And I took 250 mince pies, but by the time we'd unpacked them and the props had finished, there was about 50 left, I think. So we handed those out, and we absolute blanket ban on singing Yellowbird and Wild Rover. It was all above board, just proper carols. And so it's basically been going on from there. And then we're planning on getting some posters up around the hospital and just kind of continuing to support them. And we're then going to have a whip round once things do open up, and we're going to have a hospital day and invite as many people down as we can to come and hang out with us at Fortress Turney, and take it from there, really. So that's
brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely superb. So this is, I guess, a question for Simon and for Dave, but anyone can answer it. Where do you see the two sides of the club in the short, medium, and long-term future once we're all out of this mess?
Do you want me to
Simon,
start, Dave?
Start with you.
Yeah, Simon.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, short term, we just want to get back playing, in a safe and controlled manner, in line, obviously, with the roadmap and the guidelines. Getting the kids out there running around, not just training, hopefully engaging with, other local clubs, so we can get some, competitive matches going on, because obviously the kids kind of thrive on that. And just looking to forge those relationships that we have, because we're part of what's called the small club collective in Southeast London, and what that basically means is there's us and 3 other junior teams, and when we go off to tournaments and the like, if there's insufficient players in a particular age group, then we'll club together, put together a Barbarians team, so all the kids can get a game. So we're obviously hoping, short to medium term, so we can get back playing, get off to tournaments, get competitive games going. Just seeing the kids laughing and having fun is a real big short-term thing for me. Longer term, obviously, we want to continue growing the club. And as I mentioned earlier on, I think, we have a real good opportunity here with everybody coming out of lockdown and people looking for activities to do, because everybody's been so starved of activities. So, me and the junior committee just positioning ourselves, correctly, redesigning our websites, updating paperwork, etc. Now that the schools are going back, on tomorrow, and my son can't wait to go back to school.
You can't wait either.
Yeah. Speaking to all parents out there, you've done a great job, but let's just get them back to school. So there's another opportunity there as well, engaging, re-engaging obviously with the schools in the local community, and medium to long term as well. We obviously want to possibly expand the age groups that we train, because currently we train up to, age 13, but it'd be nice if we can, take on further age groups. And one of obviously the long-term goal is a collection of junior players that make it through the ranks and end up running out for the first 15. That's always been one of our long-term goals, and as I said, just going back to what I said earlier on, it's ensuring that the current first team players come down and interface with the kids and play. That just strengthens that link and that possibility. So that's where I'm, hoping we can go, and we want to go on tour. Kids need to go on tour. We want to go on tour somewhere. Don't think the Lions, but perhaps we'll go back down to see our friends back down in Aberystwyth again or something. So that's kind of where I hope we are.
I think the safe money on a Lions is a home tour anyway, Simon. So I don't think
yeah.
No, I mean, I can echo that, I suppose, in terms of coming from the senior ranks, is that we're just obviously short-term keen to get back and playing, and we'll do so, as soon as we're allowed to start playing, for instance, touch rugby. I can't see there being any sort of really organised rugby over the course of the summer.
No, definitely not.
There's going to be obviously competing requirements, and obviously the cricketers are dead keen to start playing again, and the footballers and stuff. There's only so much green space you've got, unfortunately, in southeast London. So, and hit the ground running, I think, is our plan when we're allowed to start what we hope should be a proper full season from August, September next year. So that's the best that we can hope for. And in the meantime, I mean, we obviously the last season that we were playing, so back in March 2020, before we went into lockdown one, our first team very narrowly missed out on getting promoted from Kent 1. We had a thrilling 0-0 draw with some of our closest rivals, Cranbrook. I think in the midst of Storm Dennis. And then a couple of weeks later, unfortunately, we lost to our local rivals, Southwark Lancers, and that saw Southwark getting promoted. So fully congratulations to them. They were fully worthy of it. But obviously, we're now itching to have a go again and see how the first team can do. And the second team, we were sort of going from strength to strength. We were turning out a good team week in, week out. Unfortunately, there were a few occasions where our opposition couldn't necessarily honour the games and what have you. So what we're keen to do is make sure that the second team is also in a sort of competitive-ish rugby on a weekly basis, because we've got a squad to match that. So that's what we intend to do over the course of the next couple of seasons. Make sure we've got two good teams, and then I think I can't remember which one of you four said it, but we've got our Kippers team as well, our vets team. So they play 3 to 4 times during the course of a season.
Play's an operative word.
Yeah, I was going to say, any excuse to have a swig of port at half time. So, and then in terms of longer term, what can we hope to do within the club? Like I say, we tried to pull together a women's team, which unfortunately we just couldn't get the critical mass to. So we'd have a number of women would come down and train with us, and we were finding sort of people who could help out coaching and what have you. But the problem was we just couldn't get enough people to raise a team. So it unfortunately didn't really go anywhere. But obviously, who knows what can happen in the future? And we know that there's obviously one of the biggest demands, one of the most growing facets of rugby, I guess, is kids and women's rugby. So if we can help out with that, then great. I mentioned the 26th of January as the auspicious date when it was the 150th anniversary of the RFU, but by a quirk of fate on that day, I think we had 4 of our members all had young baby girls. So maybe in 18 years from now, we'll have the core of a ladies rugby team.
Brilliant, absolutely superb. Finally, chaps, I don't want to take up too much more of your time because we've done this twice. It's the question that we ask everybody. give us one hope and one fear for the game or for the club over the next 12 months. We'll start with Hugh.
Okay. One hope. One hope is we've covered already, but coming out of COVID, that as a club and also rugby in general is back to kind of normality. We've got people from kids to adults back engaged in the game we all love, and that helps people kind of get active and moving around and building up friendships. We as people, me especially, I wouldn't be the person I am today without rugby growing up in Devon. So that's my hope, is just to allow kids and have that fun, have those friends, and do something that we all love and enjoy. Fear? I don't think I have a fear, really. I think the key thing is just to get people out, get people to be active and people to enjoy any kind of sport, actually. It's not just about rugby, it's about any kind of sport. Be outside and enjoy our environment and what everyone loves doing. So I'm going to keep it quite more positive. But I can't really think of a fear, so I'll leave it to accountant Dave. He loves a good fear, so
he's risk assessed it.
Yeah.
Groundhog. One hope, one fear.
Obviously, I hope the King's Last King campaign, but for rugby in general, I've got a radical proposal that we find a job for the redundant number 2. And at scrum time, push the ball down the middle of the scrum and make them try and hook it, which I think could be.
That's a novel concept.
It's a strange
turning
one.
It into rugby league.
It could upset a lot of number 8s, but I think we should go for that. And my only fear really is that my knee surgeon sees me with my rugby boots on, so I've got to make sure he
doesn't. Cheers, Simon.
Hopes, obviously, I mean, it goes without saying, we just want to get back and playing rugby and getting out there and having fun with all our junior players, because we do have fun and we have missed them, and I'm looking forward to obviously re-engaging with the kids, re-engaging obviously with my colleagues who help coaching, who are brilliant, and obviously most importantly re-engaging obviously with all the parents, because without parents we don't have much of a club. And we're going to pull together a little, program of summer events and stuff just to, keep the momentum going, going down to the park and, playing what we call the Pirates into Park initiative, where we just go to a local park and just have a kick around and, have a big picnic together, and all those simple little things that I think everybody's kind of missed, which I think will go a long way to getting everybody back involved in the game and probably, doing everybody a world of good in terms of their mental health and well-being. Fears. I fear for the England team at the moment, because God knows what's happened at the moment, and I can't understand why Simmons and Dombrant haven't got a look in at the moment. And when are people going to? When is the managerial staff going to realise that Farrell isn't a fly half? So there's a few worries down in the in relation to the England team and stuff. And like Groundhog as well. I'm a hooker as well, so we want to start seeing a little bit of parity and a little bit of fairness back up front again on that score, and obviously so a little bit of consistency in some of the refereeing decisions wouldn't go amiss as well. But that's speaking as an England fan who watched the England versus Wales game. But fair play to Wales, they played the referee, and you got to play the referee on the day. But in general, I can't wait. I want to get back out there, back involved, and I'm sure every single club out there, not just ours, but every single club in London and all around the UK probably are thinking exactly the same. Let's just get back out there, get on with it, see what happens. It might not go to plan, but at least we'll have a laugh, and that's 90% of the battle at the moment, isn't it?
Definitely. Thanks, Simon. Finally, you, Dave.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I suppose my main fear is that coming out of COVID, we just don't necessarily know how many people have been lost to the game. People who've decided to hang up their boots for good. And like I say, only time will tell until that happens. I suppose. Conversely, my hope is that obviously people have readdress what's important, and obviously people have missed all that social interaction that we would otherwise, take for granted over the last 12 months plus. So I'm hoping that people are keen to go back out there, get down to the rugby club. I for one can't wait to get down and chuck a ball around and have a pint or two.
Drop
afterwards.
it, as you normally do.
Yeah, I say chuck it around. I mean, I'm flowing it all over the place. It could go anywhere. But, maybe one of my fears as well, Paul, is that go back to the club and you're gonna start boring me with how much you disagree with Eddie Jones's coaching decisions. So maybe
hey, can you imagine what some of those conversations are going to be like, eh? Especially after we've had a couple of pints.
Yeah.
Everybody's an armchair manager then, aren't they?
I promised I wouldn't say Triple Crown, by the way, but I was lying, is
it? Still got 2 games to go, so it might not be a slam yet.
Well, yeah, maybe the government have looked at they decided March the 29th is when the Six Nations is over, so we don't have to hear all the Welshmen crowing about every time.
Or JY if it's a French win.
God, could you imagine? Thank you, thanks guys for joining me. Hugh, just give us a lowdown of where people can find more about the club.
So they can find us on our website, so King's College Hospital RFC website. They can also check us out on all of our social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Or just drop me a note, give me a search on also those media platforms, and I'm happy to talk to you as well. So, and that doesn't just mean members, that means you sponsors or partners or anybody just wants to have a chat and a bit of advice, actually. If ever any other rugby clubs are out there sitting there right now and wants to have a chat on some ideas, I'm always happy to have a conversation. It's because it's how we, as rugby clubs across the country, and Sean, you're doing a fantastic job supporting all of these at the moment, is how we can support each other with ideas and suggestions in any shape or form. So yeah, and also a massive thank you to yourself, Sean, for everything you've been doing during these podcasts with other clubs before COVID, when you were getting, if people want to have a game. So thank you for everything as well.
Is it the same time 3 weeks? Is it same?
Yeah, same time as 3 weeks. No, I'm doing this now. I'm downloading everything. It's being uploaded now. Yeah.
Is this when your laptop just suddenly runs out of power though, or something? Oh,
no, it's plugged in. Everything's plugged in. My internet didn't even cut out this week.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant. Thanks, chaps. Really good to see you again. I'm looking forward to coming down and sharing a beer with you at some point when we're allowed to. Thank everyone for watching. Thank everyone for listening. Go to Rugby Store, use promo code FYB Pod. Go and get 10% off your new kit ready for the new season. So that's it. Lovely. Cheers, everybody. We'll see you again soon.
Cheers, Sean. Thanks.